Everybody, my name is Nicholas Kazonis. We're here at RegionBuzz 219, my recording studio multimedia company, with a very good friend of mine, Mr. Marc Adrian, who's going to be playing and singing some tunes for us today and just talking about the songwriting process and having some fun. So tell him a little bit about yourself, Marc.
My name is Marc Adrian. Grew up in the region. I've been playing music for, I don't know, pretty long time. 26 years, so.
Well, nice.
Playing guitar, and yeah, songwriter. I play bass, I play guitar, and do whatever I need to do.
So you play in a couple different settings then,
Yeah.
right? From what I know of. You've done some band settings, some solo stuff. You back up a lot of people. Mm-hmm. What are we going to be hearing today? What are some of the things that we're going to be kind of exploring today?
Well, I was going to do a couple of originals that I've written over the years. A couple of them are going to be on an EP that I'm going to be releasing.
Okay.
In the summer.
Sweet.
Yeah.
How many tunes?
On the EP, it's at least 5. Since a little ahead of schedule, it might end up being 7.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So, like, what's the instrumentation like? Is it just you solo, or is it going to be kind of like with a band setting, or is it a mix?
It's so far everything is. Just me playing. So I'll start like with an acoustic guitar and then I'll layer it up until I'm happy. So I'm trying to think. Most of the songs have some sort of percussion on them.
Okay.
Either I played it myself or I programmed it like MIDI. I did bring in Benny Piazza to play drums on a song because the MIDI drums weren't cutting it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
There's some songs that's fine. Some songs you're like, no, it doesn't suit the. It doesn't match.
There's certain feels that you have to know how the pattern's going to be, and it takes almost longer to do it on a computer generated thing than it does to just have an actual drummer come in, mic up his kit, and be done.
Yeah.
Right? So, shout out to Benny Piazza. He did his single run here a couple months ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
it's a great little tune too.
It's a good tune, man.
Yeah.
He came. I only knew him as a drummer,
right?
and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna come in and sing and play some tunes." And I was like, "What the hell is he gonna do? Playing drums and singing?" But then he came in with an acoustic guitar, so it was cool.
He's a man of many talents. Yeah,
he is. He also blows stuff up for a living.
I know, and that's great.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
I'm a little jealous of that.
That sounds like a really fun job. He's a pyrotechnician as well. So tell us a little bit about, like, I guess I don't want to say what genre, but, like, what are some of your influences and some of the things that you kind of bring specifically into, like, the songwriting processes to what we're going to be hearing today?
Well, I mean, my influences are pretty far and wide. The stuff that I'm writing, I mean, I grew up listening to a lot of classic rock and stuff like that, but I don't know how much of that has made it into my songwriting as of late. I'd say it's more influenced by groups like Camper Van Beethoven, Cracker, They Might Be Giants, a lot of like 80s kind of like college-y music or indie rock. I think that's where this is one of these things. It's hard, right?
It's super hard, and I hate asking the question, but for the sake of like people watching, I always ask it because I want them to see that it's hard to describe. Music back in the 50s, it was rock and roll, blues, like country western. there was like salsa, like all these things that are happening through the ages, and funk and blue and R&B, and what soul is now means something totally different than what soul meant then.
R&B.
R&B.
That's not even the same thing anymore.
It's completely different. And and it's funny because like there's such an evolution in music, and I think that a lot of times we talk about this. We'll definitely talk about it today because you also are a producer and engineer as well. And so I think that it's really fun for me because I get to kind of touch upon some of that stuff today that I tend to like to do. So be prepared, everybody. We're going to music nerd out. But essentially, when it comes to describing genres, it's hard because you pull from these different influences, and there's been such an influx through the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s now even, to where it's like, back in the day, like country western tunes lyrically might have only been on this subject matter, but now it's like talking about racial injustice and things like that.
Yeah, it could be anything.
And so I think it's really interesting because like lyrically I might be influenced by like an artist who's a country artist, but musically speaking it might be like soul,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so like I wanted to ask, like, and I always wonder, like talking to my friends like on this show, what is it like that? What's that like for you? Like what are some of the different... Let's start with lyrics. Who would you say is kind of your lyrical inspiration?
I'd say, okay, and I think that's probably where I think about most, whether that comes across or not. Lyrics to me are really important. So the biggest influences there are definitely David Lowery, who's the front man for Camper Van Beethoven and Cracker.
Okay.
And then They Might Be Giants are a really big influence on me lyrically, and musically for both of them, but especially lyrically. And I don't, yet again, I don't know how much that comes across. I'm sure I'm influenced a lot by, blues and country music and stuff like that as well. But
maybe not as directly.
I think with both of those groups that I mentioned, they have this. There's always like room for a sense of humor, even in a very serious or dark song. There's always this like place for humor, or for cheekiness, or for abstractness, or whatever it might be. And I think I get that, from them, but also from guys like like the Beatles and Bob Dylan, and
Oh yeah.
Dylan was real serious, and then he wrote, I set my monkey on a log, ordered him to do the dog, right? Like, and you're like, okay. You're like, so,
he did that completely sober, by the way.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I've never thought much about genre. I can't say that I particularly enjoy or dislike any genre. I hear music, and when it's done right, I go, yeah, I like that. I can listen to pop and rap and country and metal and just about anything, and if it's done well, I can appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important that we have these conversations because a lot of people don't realize, like I was talking to a family member a few weeks ago, and he was like, to be honest, he goes, I love what you do, but your music is just like not what I typically listen to. And I had to have that conversation to say, it's okay. Like, it's okay that it might not be your thing because some people like salt, some people like pepper, and then some people like garlic, It's just, they're all drastically different.
Right.
And it's okay. Everybody has tastes in music. But the important thing, I think, to think about, and I find this in your music and as well as some of the other wonderful guests we've had, is you take these elements, but it's not a direct thing. It's like you still have your own sound. You are still you. You're still Marc. But you borrow from these things, and it brings in this perspective of understanding, like, from my perspective at least, I can hear those influences because I'm looking at the music more like microscopic through a new lens, through a looking glass that allows for that to happen. So I think that, like, for the listeners, it's really important to listen to music in that way too. Might not be like your first listen, be like, it doesn't have the beat that I like, know? But look past that. Look past the physical aspect of it and listen to the actual lyrics. Listen to the progressions. You don't have to know music theory to know if you like it or not.
Right.
But you can take the time to appreciate it.
I think, I'll hear people who are like, oh, I don't like Bob Dylan. And I'm like, I think you probably like his songs. you just don't like Bob Dylan, right? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's so many ways to interpret a song.
I
you
love
know?
Bob Dylan's songwriting.
Yeah.
I can't stand his voice.
Right, and that's pretty common, right? But like when you hear the band,
Yep.
right, do a Dylan song,
It's
amazing.
It's incredible.
I mean, I love Dylan. I love his voice and his
Yeah,
recordings.
yeah.
But I
listen
get
to
when
him.
people don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing with Tom Waits.
Yeah.
You know, like people, I'm not, what the hell is this? You know?
Yeah, right.
You
It
got to
kinda goes-
listen to the words. You got to listen to the music, like the vibe.
It
you
goes
know?
one way or another with him and with a lot of people like that. But yeah, it's yeah, I don't know. Every musician has their own character and things they spin they put on stuff, and I don't know how conscious any of that is. I don't think for me I'm not calculated. I don't even know how to be. You know.
Okay. Well, that's okay. Because I have some guys who are incredibly calculated who's on the show, and I've had some that are just kind of like, I write what I'm emotionally feeling in that moment, but I'm going to, and as long as you're okay with it, I'm going to break it down and like, let's just talk about how that looks, you know? And it might, however it looks to you there's not a right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
It's just how way you do it.
Yeah.
So, which leads me to my next question. As an artist now, is there any kind of like subject matters that you typically will write about?
Yeah, there's definitely been things. I feel like maybe I go on like phases with
Okay.
this because I have a bunch of notebooks, and if I look through a notebook, it usually represents a time period. I'll kind of like stick on a subject, and maybe I'll write lyrics over and over and over again until I get the batch. It's,
Okay.
the one lyric that actually works. But I think throughout my writing, I've always been like I tend to write about religion. To a certain extent.
Okay. Would you say that it's from a pro-religion or more of like just explaining your perspective as like not necessarily anti or pro, but that's a bad wording. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. No, it's really neither. It's kind of neutral. Like I've always had this fascination with religion, and
Okay.
and I tend to like people who are religious. I don't know. Maybe it's just somebody who's got like, that kind of conviction about something. But personally, I'm not. I don't know, undecided.
Undecided. Okay.
But no, yeah, I like to write about religion. I like to write about like, kind of about like maybe social issues, but not. I really try to avoid being preachy.
Me too.
I feel like earlier in when I'm in my writing, maybe it was a little bit at times, or closer to it.
but with age comes wisdom, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I like to write about just like perspective, and honestly, and a lot of what I write is kind of just abstract, and I don't know what I'm writing about until it's done. I'll sit down and stream of consciousness something. I'll look at it later and go, this has a thing to it. And then I'll start editing it to make more sense, because a lot of the times it's just word salad,
Okay.
or it's just like a good line here and there, and then how does this connect? But I don't know. I guess that is a big approach for me, is like the stream of consciousness, and obviously you're not going to get good results all the time. Just like
it's a
improv.
muscle, right? It's
Yeah.
a muscle. You have to condition it. You have to work it out.
But like, and then sometimes it's something that I like and I go with it. I don't know. It's never the same thing twice, right? Like it's always a different process. I don't get to decide. Like I said, I'm not very calculated.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's okay. That's all right. Like, I guess my question would be then like a few things. Now this intrigues me quite a bit. Is when you're looking at like the idea of a new song, will it? Let's start with the basic question of: is there a process that you have? Is it sometimes music first? Is it lyric first? Is there like a certain process that you always go to? Because like some guys are like, I write the lyrics first, then the music. Some people are like, I don't even think about the lyrics. I write the music first. And then some people are like, I had to write out a 32 bar form and write G, G, D, D, E minor, E minor. Like some people do it that way.
Yeah.
So what does it look like for Marc Adrian? And also, before we go into that, is there a space, like do you have like a space, like a room in your home, or like do you go to a certain place, like the park to write? What is it like that? What's that like for you?
Okay, well, like the first, or the
Sorry,
second part.
I have minor ADD if you can't tell. So
I can start with the second part because
Okay.
that's easy. No, there's not a particular space. I mean, I tend to, there's a room in my house where I tend to be if I'm, lounging about. So I do write most of my lyrics in there, but it doesn't really.
Is it your garage mahal?
No, I don't have a garage.
You don't have
I've
a
got
garage?
a little shed with no electricity.
Shed. Well, we got to come up with a catchy name for your shed now. The woodshed. There you go. The woodshed.
But yeah, no, I don't really have a specific setting or anything. And then the process wise, I think I tend to write lyrics first. Usually lyrics are what get me started on an idea, but it's not always the case. A lot of times, like I have a lot of lyrics that are just in notebooks, and if I'm playing, noodling around, and I hear something, like maybe this needs words, I hear a melody, I'll flip through the books and go, do any of these match? And usually I have a couple that I've been trying to work into something.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually lyrics first. But then, there's been a number of times, I'm sure you've had this too, where like the song it all comes at once.
Oh, dude.
And it's like a 10-minute thing.
I woke up at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning one night, dead asleep because I had dreamed of this song, and I was conscious that I was dreaming, and I was conscious that, as Nick Tremulis taught me in college in songwriting course, it's the night muses, right? The song is gifted to you.
Yeah.
The song is absolutely gifted to you, but you know the full context of what it's about, and it's instant. It's just instant. And my song was Hey Stranger. I woke up the dead of night. I said, okay, let me get my ass up, go to the couch in my living room, grab my acoustic, write this tune, figure out what chords it was. I mean, it was written.
Yeah, it was like done. Right?
It was done. I sat down, put my phone down on the couch, played it, figured out what key it was. Okay, I can figure. I can't really sing that. I don't know why I dreamed it in the key of F when I need to sing it in the key of D. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So I sit down and I do it, and I write this song, or this. I should say I vessel this song,
Yeah.
right? Is I guess the proper term. I vesseled the song, wrote it down, and I can just attribute it to what I call God, the universe. It just was given to me. It was not a conscious thing.
Right.
And I wrote the song, put all the lyrics down so I wouldn't forget. Literally 10 minutes later, went straight back to sleep.
Right.
It's insane. But then there's songs that I've had that, like, one of my songs, Black Cloud, I had to go through life to learn what the last verse was going to be about.
Right. I've got a song right now that it's been done. Like it came very quick, but then there's a chorus at the end, and I've sat down and tried to work this chorus numerous times over months, and I'm like, nope. And I know it's just one of these things. Sometimes you got to just wait for it. I'm just kind of waiting for it. And I'll wait until I get it right because, it needs to be right. I can't sing a lyric that doesn't feel right to me, Even if it works or it's fine, no. It's got to, there's, whatever the connection that happens when it's coming out of you, you want it to feel right. You want to feel like you're not lying ever.
Yeah, you want it to be honest. You want to be. Yeah. I find that many artists, songwriters, I should say specifically, there's a certain level of transparency about their lives and what their purpose is. And I think a lot of us, we just really look at it as we're just a ferry boat carrying everybody to the next thing, right? We're just carrying everybody through this time. It's just a timeline. And that's what I tell a lot of my students is everything is just... everything is a timeline in music. So don't get so hung up on trying to find the perfect thing, the perfect blah, blah, blah. I mean, you want it to be good.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid to release something when you've created it just because you're it's not good enough, because it's a timeline. And someone somewhere is going to connect with that. The same music you listen to when you're 5 years old is drastically different than when you're 40. So if you write a kind of infant-sounding song, someone still has infant-sounding ears and receptive ears to that.
Yeah.
So music is not always about us, and I think that is something that I very much try to implement, and some people disagree with me wholeheartedly, and that's okay. But yeah, so I'm gonna shut up and we're gonna play the first song because
Okay.
I'm blabbering and I do this all the time. So let's what's the first song called?
Well, let's start with This Ocean. This Ocean. I couldn't call it The Ocean because then Led Zeppelin. You know?
Yeah, and
So
you would have had
this-
to written something in 7, and that wouldn't have worked very well.
No, not on acoustic.
No.
I am an idiot. That's why I love you. Because you're brave enough to just let me go. You know it's dangerous to let someone change you. Well, I'm jealous and I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to the way things used to be. I can't control myself when I'm with you, lose myself when I'm with you. I don't have control. I am a maniac, but I've never been a liar. I get emotional, but I never miss the beat. And I've survived this long, floating on this ocean. Well, I've rode the waves for all my days, and never once have I ever run aground. I can't control myself when I'm with you, lose my mind. When I'm with you, I go blind. When I'm with you, I don't have control. I can't control myself when I'm with you, lose my mind. When I'm with you, I go blind. When I'm with you, I don't have control. No, I don't have control.
So great tune, Ocean, right there, right? So I gotta ask now. So is it autobiographical? Is it about a situation you've seen from somewhere else? And how did the process look like that? Because obviously I can feel the context of the situation, right? And why is Ocean the name? That was my other question about it.
Why is it called This Ocean?
Yeah. This Ocean, rather.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I mean, for now, that's what it's called. Who knows?
Yeah. Maybe we'll get a ocean spray. Are you listening?
There you go.
We need a an advertising sponsor here.
Well, that song definitely started kind of like I really didn't know what I was writing about, right? I actually don't recall if I had the words or the music first. I'm pretty sure I started with words.
Do you remember about how long ago you wrote it?
Maybe 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was talking to my wife about this last night. She was asking me what the song was about, and she was telling me she thought it was about dating like a terrible person or something. I was like, no. And here's the thing. Okay, when I wrote it, I didn't know what I was writing about. I almost always
Disclaimer.
It depends, but generally it's a retroactive thing.
Okay.
As I discover what the song is about, maybe that's when I start
That's so awesome.
like editing the lyrics, right? I think it's this thing of like there's these things I'm trying to say, and if I think about them, they won't come out right. If I don't think about them, I get pretty close.
Oh, wow, okay.
And this is my current interpretation of the song, but that first line, "I'm an idiot and that's why I love you," isn't because, this person's a bad person that I'm in love with or anything like that, or whoever the subject is. But it's more like, I think it's more about how you kind of have to be an idiot to fall in love. Like, right?
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Like it's
I didn't
it's almost
catch that.
if you're like too smart or too whatever, if you're thinking straight,
Yeah.
you're not gonna, you know what I mean? Like, so, and that's why I love you, because you're brave enough to just let me go. It's like this thing where, like it's like buying a dog even. Like anything you do, you can see that there's a good chance that this is going to end in pain, and this is not the safest thing to do necessarily.
Yeah.
And, every time you get in a relationship, that person's going to influence your entire life. They're going to change you in some way. And you're agreeing to that, right?
That is 100.
Right?
Believe me, that is 100% true.
Yeah. So this ocean, I call it that. I'm not exactly sure why I landed on that. But that line, to me, is just about, being okay with, like, I guess, like, if you think of it in terms of, like, you're just kind of like on the ocean of, oh, this is going to sound so cheesy.
Oh, cheese it up, baby. Is it
I'm gonna
Swiss
make
or
it
mozzarella?
rhyme.
I got to ask
this
that
is-
first.
It's whatever the cheesiest one is. But like
Okay.
the emotional, right? I'm thinking emotionally, the
The
emotion
waves.
ocean.
Okay.
So when I'm talking about waves in the ocean, I'm really, I'm more talking about, like maybe not just emotional, but like mentally,
Yeah.
life in general. Like it's gonna, you don't know when the waves are coming, you don't know when the storms are coming, but you get through. It's fine.
That's so cool. So there's like a symbolic element to that. Now, moving forward into that then, do you find that there is a lot of symbolism in your writing, and that's why you have to go back to like understand what it means at that point in time?
Yeah, sometimes I've kind of developed this over time. Like I understand now that when I use certain words, what they symbolize to me, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, absolutely. So sometimes I really, like I said, I just really don't know what I'm saying, but I discover it later, and
That's
it
so
works
cool.
for
So it's
me.
like it's just a flow. It sounds like it's a flow that
I try to
happens.
get into a flow state where I'm writing. I'm really not judging, because this is, and it depends. There's songs I've written that I very much had an intention for. I'm trying to write about this specific thing, and that works too. But usually my favorite is when because it takes me a long time to be specific, because I judge and I judge and I judge, and nothing's good enough. You know how this process
Oh,
can be.
yeah.
So, like I said, some songs can come out in 2 minutes, some take 2 years. It just kind of depends. But yeah, that was where I started writing. When I was young, when I was a teenager. I don't know why. Maybe it's something a teacher had told me to do. I have no idea. But yeah, just kind of stream of consciousness. Just keep writing,
Yeah.
keep writing, keep writing. Write 2-3 pages. Look
I
at it.
think
when
you're one of
done.
the first artists that I've had that have talked about the flow,
Yeah.
or what I would call the flow, at least.
I mean, that's one version of the flow, and and that process ends naturally too. It's like you're writing, it's just going, and then you feel like when that last drops out, you're done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
like you just
Because
know.
whenever I get that, man, and it goes back to that vessel, right? You're
Mm.
just carrying people to the next thing. Whenever I have those songs, I almost immediately realize that's what this is. So, whenever I have those moments now, this is kind of going even me, man. I'm gonna drill it. I'm gonna drill it till it's a microscopic level. But when you have those moments, and say you've written a song, you said you've been playing for 20 plus years. Maybe you wrote a song 20 years ago, but you go back and you play that song, and as you've gotten older and you've gained wisdom and you've experienced a lot more in life, because it's written symbolically, typically, does that song mean something to you differently now than it did then?
Oh yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, the songs.
I love that.
Yeah, there's a lot of, especially like you go back to the early days when I was playing with Groovetron or recording the first 2 albums. And I've got a good amount of lyrics on those, and yeah, there'd be points where I'd be like, oh, like years later, like, oh, that's what this song is about. Like, you know what I mean? Like
I love it.
I had an interpretation of it
Yeah.
earlier, but then like I hear it, and then I'm like, there's a point where too I was just like, am I predicting my future, or
Are you
or
Nostradamus?
manifesting it?
You know what's kind of funny?
Lyrics?
It's kind of funny about that. Is my nickname in middle school up. Everybody used to call me Nostradamus because I would always predict everything that was going to happen. Plus, I was Greek, so they were like, "You're the philosophy guy."
Well, too, and there's this, can you, a lot of people talk about manifestation. I'm like, now if I write lyrics about having a lot of money, will I have a lot of money? I've never tried it, but it's been in the back of my brain.
That seems to be the new trap rapper thing. That's what they're doing.
I've thought that before. I'm like they probably didn't have a lot of money when they wrote this lyric.
Yeah.
But now they do.
It doesn't sound like the garage band recording is, the SoundCloud rappers that are not really doing that great.
Right. Who knows?
Yeah. So I'd like to get into the next tune. What's the next one called?
This song is called Omelets for People.
Okay. So is this about feeding the hungry, or is this about enjoying breakfast?
This is about spending time with people in a simple way. This is funny because this is maybe one of the silliest songs I have in a lyrical sense, but it's maybe also one of the most earnest. This one had a little more of a impetus for it. I knew what I was writing for. I had a friend who had moved away and been gone for a long time. And I was like, oh, I miss this dude. I haven't seen him in years. And also at the same time, I had been, and maybe for the same reason, I'd been living on my own for the first time. I was living with a roommate, but whatever.
Outside of your
more
parental
on my
figures.
own. And so I was making people breakfast. I'd invite them over for breakfast, and it didn't happen that many times, but it was just kind of this moment in my life, and I was like, and maybe it's silly to some people, but food to me is, it's if I'm rating the arts, it's like music and then food. Food's important. Food is love. Food is connection.
Oh yeah, man.
And I know a lot of people think when you write about food that it's silly or something, and it can be, and that's fine, but. Not for me. No, food's important.
Well, it's like when you go to a new culture, what are you going to experience?
Right.
You're going to want to experience their food, their cultural, whether it be religious or historical things, and their art.
Yeah.
Those are basic human elements that everybody shares, no matter where you're at on this planet Earth. Or if you're watching from Mars, because I heard that there was a new UFO sighting in L.A. last week.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
But yeah, so the thing is, it's man, I got off on that tangent. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I just realized that was far, far, far removed. I went all the way to Mars on that one. That was pretty bad. My apologies at home. But if there's anybody on Mars that wants to sponsor the show, you're more than welcome to. Well, anyways, I'm gonna shut up. Let's hear about some omelets.
Omelets. Tell me, my friend, how have you been? If you're coming home, please tell me when. Tell me, my friend, where did you go? I haven't seen you in so. When you're coming home, I like to show the people who care for me that I care too. I make omelets for people. And if you're not busy tomorrow night, I'd like to have you over and I make omelet for you. Thursday, will that be great? We'll stay up early and we'll get up late. We can have breakfast whenever. And if all my time were so grand, I wouldn't sell a single grain of sand for $100 million. What is it better for me to do than sit and have a moment with someone who will sit and have a moment with me too? I'll scramble the eggs and I add the cheese, garlic powder and broccoli. We'll have breakfast in a short time. I will serve you up a plate. I hope that you enjoy the taste. Would you like orange juice or coffee? 'Cause what is it better for me to do than sit and have a moment with someone who will sit and have a moment with me too? What is it better for me to do? Better for me to do. Tell me, my friend, how have you been? And if you're coming home, please tell me when. Tell me, my friend, where did you go? I haven't seen you, and so when you coming home?
So my next question is going to be, and this is a serious question, by the way. Are you at all influenced by Jack Johnson?
No, not that I am aware of.
Because isn't he the one who wrote Banana Pancakes for breakfast?
Okay, yeah.
And so I was.
Honestly, I don't know who wrote which song first. This is a song I wrote in 2005-ish.
We're coming for you, Jack. We're coming for you.
But no, I understand that question because the rhythm is very straight like that.
Yeah. It's very got that kind of like 90s alternative.
Yeah, it's very 90s.
Yeah.
The way I produced it on the EP is very 90s. I knew that going in. I was like, you know what? This is kind of home base for me, right? Like I grew up in the 90s. Perfect. It just, But yeah, no, I can't say that I'm influenced by Jack Johnson, but I don't have anything against the guy. I just don't know his music very well.
But we're coming for you if we wrote the song first.
Yeah.
As in Mark. I didn't actually do anything
Banana
with it.
pancakes.
But
that's a different.
But we're gonna pull up in
different food.
We're gonna pull up in my '94 Caddy.
I'd rather have an omelet than a pancake.
I'd definitely rather have the protein than the carbs.
Yeah.
For sure. So, all right. That was a very important question about that.
Yeah, good. I'm glad we got that out of the way.
But what I do want to say about that song is I felt what I liked about it was I actually felt like I was there having breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew the premise of it. After now, I heard the title and I thought, oh, this is kind of a fun title, right? It's kind of funny. Let me listen to the lyrics. But now I'm like, oh, this is about a guy who wants to get together with his friends, like you said.
Yeah, that's really it.
It's super.
That's the whole
it's
thing.
super clear. It's super clear. There's no symbolism in that one, really.
No, it's very straight.
Yeah, that one's real straight.
Yeah,
so now my question to you would be: is how did the process of writing that one go? Since that's so different from the symbolic kind of writing that you've done. Was that a flow period as well?
No, not really. That one, I mean, I think it came lyrically. It came pretty quick. That was one where I was playing my guitar. I was sitting on my bed, I was playing guitar, and I started singing. You know how, you just make it up, right? Just,
I'll do things like.
Right? That's how you do that, though. And then, sometimes, and then I think that first line came out, and I was like, okay. And I don't know. Honestly, I wasn't very excited about it when I wrote it. I mean, not to say. I feel like if I start writing a song, I'm going to finish it. I try to do that at least. So I remember writing it and kind of liking it. And I sat on it for a long time. I didn't really play it. You know what? And I've discovered this over the years, too. When I play these songs that, like the last song, I thought was kind of a throwaway, too. I wrote it, and then I went and played it at an open mic night. And, man, I got this response. I was like, oh. maybe
that weird?
Maybe there's something to this. And same thing with this one. Like I got just a reaction from people when I played it out the few times I did, and they would ask me to play it. So okay, and then yeah, but yeah, writing process wise, no, I think I was just kind of describing that feeling of missing somebody and wanting to. I really liked that one line. It really made the whole thing work for me. What is there better for me to do? Sit and have a moment with someone who will sit and have a moment with me too. And like, honestly, that might be my favorite thing in life. It's just, when we were young, we would just go out for coffee and just talk, 4 or 5 hours, just pounding coffee, chain smoking and talking. And like, that's such a thing for me. Like anybody who can do that with me and like not just surface level stuff, but like really talk about stuff and get into it. That's like a high for me.
There was, and speaking of that, not to bring the show down or anything like that, but just to kind of like touch on it because I think that his name needs to be said as much as we can say it. Our good friend Scott Larson, who's no longer with us.
Yeah.
It kind of gave me that. I know it wasn't necessarily about Scott, but it gave me that feeling like that's how I connected to it currently.
Yeah.
Because it's like that's what we used to do.
Yeah.
I would sit and we would just drink pitchers of water. Literally, Scotty and I both have this thing where we would wear flannels and we both drank pitchers and we had long hair and looked kind of like each other. So it was like this weird, was I a doppelganger of him or was he a doppelganger of me? But we would just sit after a gig. We do open mics. And we would just sit and talk. And we're sitting at a bar where people are getting completely obliterated and doing what they do, but me and Scotty would just sit and drink water out of pitchers.
Yeah.
And he would smoke cigarettes, and I'd tell him to stop smoking.
Yeah, right. I mean, Scotty was great about that. Like, he was always down for, let's just sit around. Like, anytime we'd play a show, we'd do our Thursday shows at the Flat Rock, and I think we were done playing at 11, right? So I'd end up getting home at like 3, 4 in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
Or I'd get home at 2 with Scott, and then we'd sit on my front porch and just talk.
And something, if you don't know Scott Larson, folks, or didn't ever get the blessing to meet him, one thing that you'll know about Scott is Scott left everything on the stage 100% of the time. There's never, and if he didn't, the show would be done. Everybody else would walk off stage and start partying and having a fun time. And he would go up there and sing songs solo because he still had it in him because he needed to let it out. And that was something that just always, I got goosebumps. You guys can see it. It's a true story.
No, it's true. Like, after a 4-hour jam session, Scott would be up there playing for sometimes another hour or more. Like he would just keep going.
Yep.
And, it's...
Something he always told me was the reason he liked playing with me was because he felt, and I don't know how true this is as far as, it was obviously his reality because he never would have blown smoke up anybody's ass.
No.
I was just not the type of person he was. So it was very much to his reality. But he said the stage is always, what was the word he used? It's like a sanctuary, right? It's like a holy place almost.
Yeah.
And you should always be honest there. You should always let it all out because that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be that space. And I don't know why I went off the tangent other than the fact that it just, those conversations that you were talking about reminded me of that. And I know that we have that shared experience, so I wanted to just briefly say we love you, Scotty, and we'll see you.
Good.
We'll see you one day.
I'm glad you can relate. And I think a lot of people miss somebody that they would just like to hang out with.
Yeah.
Especially
like, I think about even just friends who are still with us, and like a lot of there was like, my best friends that I grew up with we don't even call each other friends, we're brothers. I mean, that's what it is, got up, they went to college here, and then this one like moved to such, went to the Navy, and, it was just like, you don't get to see them, and we did everything from the time we were in second grade together. It's just kind of weird.
Yeah, now, they're across the country, and you see them once every 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. But, with modern technology,
better.
It's better because you can actually see people on Zoom or You know, you don't have to write letters anymore. You know, send carrier pigeons with messages anymore. But since we're on the topic of technology, I'd like to talk a little bit about kind of moving forward. So in your songwriting process specifically, I would say just not production, because production is another thing, but actual songwriting process. How has technology influenced you in songwriting? Would you say for the better at all?
I've attempted a little bit to use. Here's the main thing that it's really done for me. I've got my phone on me, which means I have a little recorder on me all the time.
Yes.
I always had a recorder before then, but I didn't always have it with me.
Did you have the Talkboy?
I didn't have a Talkboy, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I had a Talkboy. That's what I started off
I just had one of those little, it's like a black box made by Sony, probably. You just put a tape in it.
Okay.
And I would just record stuff that way. But now when I have an idea, if I hear something, I can just quickly get it. I remember like writing when I was, before, in the before times, I had my phone and I would get a melody or a thing in my head and I would try to just remember it.
So
that doesn't always work because you get some of the nuances wrong. When something's fresh, it's got a thing to it. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing. I've got like a bunch of bits of ideas that are on my phone, and sometimes if I need inspiration or whatever, I'll go through there and be like, is there any ideas on here that I can elaborate on or work with? And I guess that hasn't worked out. Like, I haven't gotten a ton of songs that way, but if I get one or two, great. I don't. Yeah. Whatever.
Okay. So, James Guetta, when we had him on, he's incredible songwriter, incredible lyricist, everything. He said, "Oh yeah, I can't. I absolutely have to have Google Docs to write all my stuff down." And I just I'm like, that's such an interesting approach. Like, I'm like a napkin guy, or
I'm a notebook guy when it comes to that. Okay. Right? Like, I need I need that kind of organization. I need pen and paper.
Oh, I'm all over the place.
Yeah. You just have like piles of stuff.
It's terrible. And a shout out to my guys Ben, Aiden, and Chase here at the studio. They always do a wonderful job on the productions. I always like to try to shout out to them, but they help me out so much here because I am this creative monstrosity of ideas that happen. And then I need someone to help me kind of, keep them together between here at the studio and just, that's forced me to use a calendar and be super organized. And I've gotten a lot better from them when I first started many years ago in the music scene,
Yeah, it's, any artist, we're not always the most organized.
Oh, no, we're terrible.
It's like, I definitely have my method, though. I've got notebooks. I don't know how many of them that are filled from, I started writing lyrics when I was 12,
That's awesome.
So I almost lost all the lyrics that I had written in a flood, but I took them out of the poop water and dried them out. I was like, I'm saving this stuff. It wasn't
F you, poop water.
It wasn't really poop water. It was just like...
F you, poop water.
But no, I've got I don't know, 30, 40 notebooks that are just filled with stuff.
That's awesome.
A lot of it I can't read. I don't know what that. I don't know. My handwriting's bad. I used to write in cursive. I learned to just write everything.
Yeah.
Print everything out. It's a little slower, but it works.
See, for lyrics, I write it down, and then at the end of the day, I have this ritual where I sit down and I do my meditation and I do my daily. I do these things called night thoughts. I'm actually writing a book right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, which a lot of people don't know about. But when I do that, I always do my daily task and write everything down, and then I switch it over to electronically because I know that if I don't, that Post-it note or that napkin or the back of a water bottle label will get lost.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's smart actually.
Yeah.
I do that sometimes. I use Google Docs heavily. Right. I have every cover song I've ever learned written out because I don't want to have to think about it again in the future.
Yeah.
But I started doing that with my originals as well.
That's great.
And a lot of times now I'll take my my first draft and I'll put that on the docs and then I'll do my editing there because it's much easier than crossing out and writing arrows on a page. not that much.
Not the level of these youngins around
Well,
here.
you know, yeah, I'm not like, you know, there's been times, you know, having recording capabilities where I would just maybe find a beat or something, and I would loop it, and then I would add on to it, and you know, that's I've gotten some results over the years doing that, but not a lot. Most of it, I feel like I probably, in a lot of ways, even though I'm not a folk musician, kind of employ the folk traditions.
Okay.
You know, like
Yeah. Well, if that's what your influences are, like Dylan and stuff like that, I mean,
Yeah.
that's, you know, like, how did they do it? They didn't have like drum beats on a garage band thing or something, you know? Like,
Right, you just kind of write your lyrics down. You give some chords over it.
Theirs were
You let it
records.
change.
They had hundreds of records in their bedroom, you know?
Yeah,
I mean,
Right.
their vinyl literally weighed a ton, you know? Like, that's a thing. So going into that then, I know that recently you kind of like opened up a space or I don't know if you've opened it up to the public, I should say, but is it to the public or is it just private?
I mean, I haven't been advertising it as such, but it's more. It's not completely public. It's
Okay. It's a private select.
it's people who ask me and know me. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't. You know, it wasn't my intention. I've actually had a lot of people be like, "Hey, I want to record with you." I'm like, "Oh, great." It was not my initial intention. I just needed. I needed a space to put my stuff that I could work and be loud at night.
Yeah.
And my wife needed a space where she could do some video work, and I needed that too. And it just kind of
Worked itself
worked.
out.
Yeah, it worked
That's
itself
fantastic.
out. We found a place, and then I've had a lot of people interested. So like Jack Whittle.
Yeah. So tell us about some of the stuff you're working on. Yeah.
Yeah. So so we were getting ready to do an album with the Jack Whittle trio. Right when all the quarantine stuff happened, right? So anyways, that put the kibosh on all that. And then we talked about recording at somebody's house, like in a basement situation. Anyways, right when we're getting ready to record, I had this space. I said, let's just do it here. You know, we have the place to do it. And that's kind of how it started. It wasn't really, like I said, it wasn't really intentional. But now I've got, you know, recording space, and I plan on working with some people like James Guetta. We're going to do a song or two, and then mostly I want to do my stuff there, but you know,
Yeah.
people need help recording. Obviously, they can just come to you.
Yeah, but it's not. You know, I tell everybody this. There's plenty of things, and it's also like, if someone comes to you, they come to you for a reason, right? Like,
Yeah.
this isn't. Nothing is. I'm going to say this out loud because I think that it's really important for people to hear. Music isn't a sport. It's not a competition.
Yeah.
It's an expression. So if someone doesn't express the same way or view things in the same way as you, it's okay to go to someone else, even if they're your best friend. I mean, that's just the way it is, you know. And I think that so many people get interested in like what other people are doing that they lose sight of what they're doing.
Right.
And I think it's important that it's said. I publicly say that because some people have like kind of gotten weird about that. So don't get weird about it because I will beat you up.
I mean, there's plenty of space for everyone too. Like, and you know, yeah, I definitely don't think in terms of competition with music anymore. At least, maybe when I was young, in some ways.
There's a certain
guitar
level
players.
of like, oh man, like that guy's a killer guitar player.
Yeah.
I want to be able to do what he does.
Yeah.
But it's not like, I'm going to sit down and go to Crossroads with you, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like that, you
Yeah.
know? It's not like that.
But yeah, you know, so yeah, I have that little space now. We're working on that Jack Whittle album, and like I was telling you earlier, the main thing about the space I have is that I have very tall ceilings and a very big room, so the drum sounds are that, you know, which is cool. I've been, as much as I can, like playing that up, like taking this thing, this natural quality of the room I'm in, and using it when I can, you know. So lots of room mics on guitars, which is funny too because we're working on this blues album. I hadn't really thought about blues production that much, but being on the road with Jack, we listen to, you know, just blues pretty much.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm listening to all this stuff. I'm like, you know, I'm hearing these similarities, and a lot of it is like you're hearing the guitar tones and stuff are like, that mic sounds like it's like 15 feet away sometimes, you know, like
yeah.
it's like.
Because back then in certain, I mean, especially like 59, Jimmy Reed and stuff like that, when you look at it, there was only like one or two mics in the room catching everybody, you know? So everybody was placed in, like, where you would mix it in box nowadays, like the way that we do here. The bass player needs to be back there to the left or right in the middle, you know, like.
Which is such a cool way of recording, though, right? Like, I'm very big on the live recording when everybody can play at the same time. I love that. Like, it's how I've done most. Obviously, I can't do that when I'm recording my stuff, or I haven't. But it's a cool thing. You get a different feel. I don't mind a little bit of, bleed in the mix if it happens, though that hasn't really been an issue. I don't know. There's so many versions of recording, right? What it could be, and
it's all about
what sounds good is like
philosophy.
It really is. You listen to all these different records, and there's certain things that obviously would sound wrong. You don't want an album to hurt your ears or to distort your speakers or whatever. But there's so many versions of production that are good.
Yeah.
But, it's like you have to think about the song. You have to think about everything, like everything that goes into it. And I don't know. I definitely like recording a lot. It's right up there. I mean, with performing, as far as I'm concerned,
it's a different thing.
I love the process. I like getting into the weird stuff with production. Adding those little things that maybe other people aren't thinking of, like just little detailed things.
I'm working with an artist, Chris Dabu, right now, who's going to be on our show sometime in June, and he incredible songwriter, and he has like all the ideas, and then I like help him build like the background. So I play drums, I play bass, I do all these kinds of things. And I was like, this section, he goes, it's perfect. I said, it's not perfect. It needs a keyboard part that can be felt but not heard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm layering it in there, man. He's like, why? I'm like, dude, I'm layering it in there.
Trust me. Yeah.
Trust me. I was like, if you don't like it, we'll delete it. I'll keep it in, but you won't even know it's there,
Right? Exactly. Like, this song needs wind.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about atmosphere in a recording, too. Like, I don't know if you've come across this particular problem. I think it's common, though. You'll demo a song, right? You demo the song, you do it real quick, you're not thinking about it, you're not worried about how well you've recorded. You just, quick demo.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, this is great. And then you go to record the song, and you're like,
something's missing.
Right. What's wrong with this? You're like, there's something that happens in demos all the time. Like, constantly I have this where I'm like, this demo sounds better than the recording, or there's a thing to it,
Yep.
I think that's an energy thing, I think it's not caring helps in a way, but you have to also care.
That recently just happened with a Caught on Klein tune we just recorded here. We did a demo just for like everybody to like practice to and get ready to come in and we'll track it out and do our live takes and all that. And there's a vocal take that I did that the guys were like, "Oh my God, that's it."
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. But then I go to the bridge and I was in the booth. I literally am not shitting you. 67 takes to try to get it, and I couldn't get it exactly the same.
Yeah.
So I came back the next week rather. I came in, not that that's even valid, but I came back the next week, tried to do it. I couldn't emulate it. I just could not emulate it. It was something in the tone of my voice and the way that I was feeling to like fluctuate those embellishments that I could not redo.
Right. And I mean, that's the whole thing with recording too. You're trying to capture a moment in time and obviously repetitions on your side, you can do that, but but if you too much repetition, you can start to like sterilize something, and it's like where you have to like draw the balance between being retentive about how perfect everything is and just being loose with it and trying to find a middle ground, in a production.
We were talking about this off camera earlier, because I like to talk even before we get on the show. But
we like talking.
Yeah, we just like talking. But it was a thing of it's based upon the song, right? Mm-hmm. It's like the song calls for certain styles of recording and things, and that's what it's going to be. There's also different engineers. You go to different engineers and different producers that have a certain thing. It's like, I'm going to go to them for this song and then them for this song.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a thing, too.
Absolutely.
You know?
There's the last song we played, the Omelets, when I was recording that, I sat down with this guitar and it was just in front of a mic, but a noisy room, air conditioning, everything's wrong.
Everything's
right?
wrong.
But I'm not thinking about it. I'm like, whatever, I just want to like start writing my lead lines or whatever for this song. And I hit record, I sit down, whole thing is perfect. Like, right? Like, I didn't change anything. I didn't have to edit anything. I was like, this is exactly what it should be. I was like, I can't do this again. You know what I mean? Like, it'll never feel this good again.
Yep.
So instead of, like, trying to re-record it, I was like, no. I'm just going to deal with the noisy track. I'm going to do what I can to make it sound how it needs to. And, like, I listened to it through. I'm like, it's perfect, man. It's like that room sound even is part of the thing now, So, it's like when you get like that. Like, if you can use that demo version you did, just use it, right? Like,
yeah, we can't. We couldn't. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Nah, it's too bad, right? Like, there's that.
Because we were writing it. It was literally we were writing the song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even done.
It wasn't even done. So it was like, there was like a flub here, a flub there, so that kind of thing was happening.
What's that song? Shine. I think it's called Shine by Collective Soul, right?
Okay.
Like, they had a demo of that, and then their label wanted them to, re-record the song. And they did, and they were like, no, this is, so here's the story goes, it's been told to me. So they recorded it however many times and ended up just doing their basement home record, like that version that was on the radio, made them huge, was just like something they did in their basement as a demo. And, they couldn't reproduce it. Like, you just have, like, you have moments, It's like when you have a good show or you have... sometimes you sing a song, you're like, this is
the best I've ever sounded.
Yeah, like this is coming out in a whole new way. Like,
and then you do it the next night, you're like, I'm going to do just like I did yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
Flip your hair that I don't have, get on stage and I'm like,
it's just flat.
And I just completely bob it, right? Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
I swear, anytime I pull out a video camera, I'm like, I'm going to tape this show. The only parts I tape are the parts I wasn't happy with. As soon as I turn that thing off, I'm like, wow, my voice feels great all of a
just
sudden.
leave the camera rolling all the time now. I record every show because
should.
I'm starting to do, and Alex Akers from Caught on Client, one of my main projects, was talking about that. He said, you guys got to start watching it because it's like watching film, like from a football team or something.
Yeah.
And you learn so much. So we've been doing that. And plus for content. I mean, let's be honest. We live in the social media world. We have to have content now.
No, I mean, we used to... when I was playing with Groovertron, we would post game pretty often. Like, we'd play a show, and the audience is happy or whatever, but we're listening back to the recording of the night and critiquing. We're like, oh, here's the thing, because there's certain things that happen on stage that you think about in the moment. And you don't, you're not making like a list while you're on stage of things that could be better. But we would do that just like you said, like a football film. You just got to listen or watch and just be like, no, we shouldn't do this. This is weird,
Yeah.
Or like, especially with film, it's like the faces that I make when I'm playing.
That's one thing that I think people miss.
Like?
That's one thing about people miss with me at the Mass. They told me is when I get in my guitar solos and I'm like, like I'm holding slugs or something,
Oh,
but
man.
Soon, hopefully, I will be able to do that. We're getting there.
There's so many pictures of me playing with Jack Whittle. He's been telling me wear sunglasses on stage. And I was like, oh, I don't want to wear sunglasses. But I think it's because I look at the pictures of me playing with him. I'm like, I'm always making some goofy face. I'm like looking up or
tell Jack to shut up. Jack, if you watch this, shut up, Jack.
You don't,
you don't
tell
know
me
what
what to do.
About.
I can't be a sunglasses on stage guy. It just doesn't feel right. Not yet. Maybe when I'm older. Let's see.
So what's the next tune? Let's get into it.
The next song is called Isn't It or Is Not It?
All right, let's just get into
prefer
it. Let's just get right into it.
Okay. point that I'm making. I feel like I'm crazy. Maybe you're just faking it, isn't it? Intricate. Why can't you understand that there's no one to blame for the things that were said, the way that they came forth, isn't it? Intimate. Well, words have their value, but there's no one to set it. I told you how I feel, but I can tell you don't get it. Oh, isn't it limited? Well, I left you a message and it was absent of tone. But the way that you read me when you are alone makes me out to be some sort of asshole, and I don't appreciate it. Point that you're making is not worth the time or the breath that it's taking. Oh, isn't it impotent? I dare you to match me, I defy you to try. Oh, your pain is so gorgeous. Oh, I could just die. Oh, isn't it intimate? I say it is. Whoa, it's not over till I say it is. I was in the middle of a thought, my mind was whittling while I heard your wondering words and I saw you burst into a smile. Oh, isn't it? Oh, it's so fabulous. There's a certain kind of kindness I don't think you understand. I thought the silence was behind us, but you'll be bitter to the end. Oh, isn't it limitless?
Yeah.
Something like that.
And the
Don't really
name,
have an ending.
and the name of it, the title of it actually
Called
is?
Isn't It.
Isn't It.
Isn't It. Is not it.
That was very wordy. How long did it take you to write?
Not long.
Really?
Not
oh,
long
man,
at
you're
all,
like,
no.
yeah,
Yeah, completely.
yeah.
That one poured out pretty easy. I think that one had built up for many years. It was like the song I was trying to write for a long time, but I couldn't quite get out. And then when it came out, it just kind of poured. You know?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's
Very
very emotional.
It's a frustrated song.
Yeah, it's very emotional. I really dig it.
Yeah.
So, are all three of these tunes going to be on your upcoming EP?
The first two definitely. This one maybe not. I think I see this one going with a different group of songs, a different batch of songs. So I'll probably, as soon as I'm done with the EP, I'll probably just start my next thing. I've been building up. I have enough to do probably 3-4 albums if I wanted to.
You overachiever, you.
I mean, I'm just saying. Like, I've got a large I'll go through my computer and I'll click. But what's this? like, oh, it's an entire song I wrote and recorded and then forgot about. You know, like so there's
Again,
a lot
thank
of
God
those.
for technology, right?
Yeah.
That was a big reason why I bring that up, because the modern songwriter relies so much on technology that we're not even really that conscious of it.
Yeah, that's probably true. I probably using it a lot more than I'm thinking even. But yeah, like that and yeah, there's a lot of songs. There's a lot of songs that I'd like to get recorded. Like some of the stuff, I wrote 15 years ago that's on the EP, and some of it was more recent. I don't know. I've never stopped writing. I always write, So it comes in spurts, I'll write a bunch and then I don't, and then I do, and then I don't. But at this point, I've put off recording my own whatever solo stuff for so long that I've got a ton of material. I'm not going to run out anytime soon.
Yeah.
But I'll keep writing anyways,
Very cool. So, again, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. Really looking forward to the EP. Do you have like a date timeline or anything like that? And where can people find, where are they going to be able to find your social medias and all that kind of stuff? Chase does a good job. He'll have you fill out something and we'll get all that stuff for you.
Okay.
But just as a reminder for those watching, if they don't get to see it at the end here, what is your social media stuff that they can follow you at?
Marc Adrian Music is...
Spell that for them.
Yeah, Marc with a C. So MarcAdrian Music.
Okay.
So you can do marcadrianmusic.com, or you can find me on Facebook, on Instagram. I think I'm Marc Adrian Musician, because apparently that had been taken. But that's where I'm going to do it all. I actually don't even know if I'm going to release it under my name or if I'm going to title it something else. I have some decisions to make.
Oh, wow.
But
the artist formerly known as Marc Adrian.
Well, I kind of, it's like you almost want to give it a band name in a way, but then I don't know what I'm doing, man.
Yeah.
But yeah,
do
July
any of
2nd.
us.
July 2nd is my my goal is to at least have something out, at least one of the songs, ready, the songs are ready. One of the songs released.
Mixed, produced, released on digital platforms.
But no later than September 5th.
Okay.
So that's my date range. It'll be in the mid to late summer.
So what that means, folks, is get over to Marc Adrian Music on Facebook, Instagram,
YouTube. Yeah.
And follow what he's doing so that you guys can stay up to date. Again, there's not enough space in Northwest Indiana for original music, and there's so much thriving, beautiful music out there that is not tribute bands and cover bands. And that's not a knock. I say this every single week. That's not a knock to tribute bands and cover bands. They have their place, and they've had their place for as long as I can remember in the region. Way predating me. But there is beautiful new music that is being created, and you guys, I really, really, really advise you to go out and start searching for it. And we're going to be hosting different people every single week on our channel, all about original music and songwriting.
Good. Yeah, and there are some great songwriters in the area.
Incredible. Who are some of your... Okay, let's do this. Do you have some top favorites?
Yeah, of course I do.
Okay.
James Guetta, obviously.
Yeah.
Guetta's great, man. Like...
He's ridiculous.
He won't stop with the songs, and they're catchy, and some of them. He's good, obviously. It's annoying how good he is at times. Man, one of the bands I really loved growing. Well, maybe not growing up, but once I heard of them, Nomad Planets.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if they're.
John's incredible.
Yeah, John and Mark. The whole band, but yeah. I always like the way Mark writes lyrics, and they have a little bit of country in them, a little bit of that alt country, at least how I hear them, know. And I just love when there's just a little bit of country in anything. I think it's good. I think it's a good influence that gets overlooked. There's a lot of blues and all over the,
Yeah.
In everybody's music.
We're so close to Chicago.
I like that alt country thing that happens with them. They're great. Eric Lambert, grew up listening to Lambert. Obviously, you.
I ain't nothing, man. Don't even try to pump up some air up over here.
Jack Whittle.
I can smell a liar when I smell him, even with the mask on.
But yeah, Jack Whittle. I told I play with Jack in the trio, and me and Penny are always, let's do more of the originals. We do a good amount of them right now. We've been good about that. I always tell Jack, I'm like, because I did bass for a couple years there where I was playing a lot of bass. And then when all that kind of ended, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Except for with you, Jack. I'll do it for you. Because you got a thing going. I've had other people ask me, and I'm like, I only play bass for Jack Whittle.
That's so cool. Yeah,
He's
because
good, though,
you're
man.
a very talented multi-instrumentalist that people don't know. You also play mandolin. You play guitar, bass. Is there any other instruments that you play?
Banjo.
Banjo, that's
keyboards.
what it was. Okay.
I played keyboards with Groovitron. I played drums a little bit, not in front of anyone. But I've done, I did a lot of the drumming stuff on my EP. So there's, congas, cajon. I did snare on one song where I just played a snare. But yeah, working on the drumming.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we
obviously
all
I
are.
sing and stuff. And, just no horns, no wind or brass instruments in my repertoire. Though I really wish I played trumpet.
Yeah.
Alex.
I know. Alex will be walking in here in a little
Oh,
bit.
man.
Yeah.
He plays guitar and trumpet. I'm like, that's what I was supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Discovered that when you have roommates, it's really hard to play trumpet, right?
Yeah,
Like,
any brass or woodwind is kind of
I'm
it's
a night
hard.
person too, so when do I want to practice? I starting at midnight. That's
Yep.
when I want to write. That's when I want to practice guitar. It's when I want to sing. It's usually very late at night. So trumpet's a bad one for that.
Yeah. Very.
So I did it for a couple months and then realized that I couldn't be consistent enough. I'll get back to it.
Yeah. So I want to say thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
This is real fun.
Yeah, we'll do it again. And make sure you guys get over to Marc Adrian Music on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Is there a Twitter?
Yeah, but no.
No, there's not a Twitter.
I don't really
That's-
use that. Don't
Disregard. Disregard
There's
Twitter.
too many things.
There's too many things nowadays.
Way too many.
Do you have an OnlyFans? Is there an OnlyFans that you have?
Yeah, but you're gonna have to
Private
find that on
reserve
your
that
own.
one, yeah.
I was talking about like musicians using OnlyFans. I don't see why not.
They've opened it up.
They
They've
should.
recently opened it up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It seems like the perfect format for
Yeah.
us.
It's awesome. So at any rate,
You seem to know a lot about. I've actually never
I know
perused the selections.
I only did it because I get these monthly newsletters from I don't remember what it was from, but it said like OnlyFans now open to musicians, and I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. But at any rate, welcome, and goodbye. Thank you so much to Marc for being on the show. We'll see you again next Friday, and thank you so much. This is Freakin Friday Show with Nick Kazonis and RegionBuzz 219. We'll see you soon. Take care.